Welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach. We know that becoming the best and healthiest version of yourself isn't just about following macros, a meal plan, or killing yourself at the gym. You have to look at a holistic approach, looking at stress management, sleep, mindset, lifestyle, support system, and of course, exercise and nutrition. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of the Healthy Kids Cookbook, 100% kid-approved recipes the entire family will love. You can find it on Amazon. In this podcast, I am going to teach you how to take one step at a time to becoming the healthiest version of yourself. Today's guest is Amanda Haar. She is one of our dietitians at our headquarters location. She specializes in hormone health, women's health, and she also works with many of the kids and families that have partnered with Healthy Steps Nutrition to get those healthy habits started at a young age. All right, I hope you enjoy this episode with Amanda Haar. Amanda, welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast.
Thanks for having me, Nicole.
Today's going to be fun. I am going to ask you a bunch of questions that we always get asked by clients, whether it be members in our gym or when we're speaking at events or your clients, all of the questions related to nutrition, health, and wellness. Are we ready?
We are ready.
I'm just going to throw them at you and you answer them and then we'll move on to the next one. Sound good?
Perfect.
Okay. Let's say someone says they have no skills in the kitchen. What is the best step for them?
Right. So we like to think about there's a ton of tools out there these days for cooking, right? Like you can get as fancy and intricate as you want to, or you can start with the really super simple options. So I would say, some things that require less cooking skills are going to be using a crock pot or an air fryer. The air fryer is pretty foolproof as far as consistency because it always makes it wonderfully crispy on the outside and juicy on the inside. So If you're worried about like whether I'm cooking something too long or not enough, like the air fryer is pretty awesome in that respect. And with the crock pot too, if you're not sure when things are done, generally crock pot recipes will tell you how many hours to have it cooking. I would say definitely like having a meat thermometer on hand can take the guesswork out of like tapping it and looking at it to see if it's done because you just know if it's hitting a certain temperature. But like kind of those one pot meals are going to cut down on the dishes that you have to do and on the skills that you need at first.
I love it. There are some super easy Healthy Steps nutrition recipes. My favorite is egg roll in a bowl. It's 3 ingredients. I remember going up and helping Clark Campbell and his family with family nutrition last year. And he's like, Nicole, I've never done anything in the kitchen. I was like, okay, no problem. And so we end up making this recipe together. But when we put the turkey meat in the pot to saucepan to cook, he was like, how do you cook turkey? And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like I've never worked one-on-one in a kitchen with someone who has literally no skills. So we like talked about it. The cool thing, if you've never cooked turkey before, Google a YouTube video on how to do it. And you could see or get one of those utensils that has like the breaker up thing in the middle of the cooking. I don't even know what it's called, Jason. Maybe we'll link it in the show notes.
Oh, perfect.
So that people can grab it. But that is a great thing if you're making tacos or you're making a recipe that has meat that needs to be chopped up. Super easy to use one of those little utensil cutter things. Very official term.
Yes, exactly. Get yourself one of those cutter things.
Oh my goodness. So, that is the egg roll in a bowl recipe. So 3 ingredients, it's turkey that you cook and chop up into little tiny pieces, cabbage that you throw in there, a bag of cabbage that you get from Publix or wherever you get your groceries from, and then coconut aminos. Super, super simple. The other thing I would mention is just like, hey, get some freezer recipes or freezer things like cauliflower chicken, right? Mm-hmm. That you can throw in the air fryer and you literally need no skills to make that.
Right, exactly. And on that note, frozen vegetables are great because you don't have to wash them. You don't have to chop them up if your knife skills aren't up to par yet. And so you literally throw them on the stovetop or the air fryer or the oven, however you want to cook them, and add some seasonings and boom, you have a bunch of vegetables. Like there's no barrier there as far as vegetables if you don't have knife skills.
All right. I love it. All right. That's enough tips for our people with no kitchen skills. Let's move on to the next question. I'm rushing in the morning. what are some on-the-go breakfast options?
Right. So, and that's a really important thing, right? Sometimes our mornings start way too fast and we just need to eat our breakfast on the road. I think I actually ate breakfast on the road this morning. So this is very applicable. So a couple good options. We love the RX options that are out there these days, as far as the RX bars. There's RX oatmeal that you can just kind of bring in your cup, and it has a cover for it. That's really important if you're bringing something on the road, to have a cover on it. And it has a really good balance. We like it because it has a good balance of carbs, protein, and fat, with a good amount of protein and not a super high amount of carbohydrates, which is what you typically think of with oatmeal in the mornings. So those can be some easy, really grab and go options. Even something as simple as, some hard-boiled eggs and fruit. I feel like fruit is one of nature's fast foods, and hard-boiled eggs is one of our kind of faster proteins. Even if that's too much work to peel it, you could even bring some, like we like the country art or turkey jerky or something as a source of protein in the mornings.
No, I think a lot of times I went to Nashville a few weeks ago, and I was there for a week, and I went to Whole Foods, and Whole Foods has some already done hard-boiled eggs that are de-shelled. So literally I got the thing with some fruit, and that was my breakfast a few mornings. It was super simple, easy, and it took literally no prep time. So that could be a good option just to stock up. But, I think the biggest thing is planning ahead so that what is the on-the-go breakfast option. Do you have it available? Are you setting yourself up for success when you are in a rush in the morning?
Right. And that's where, we love, and I probably say this almost every podcast, but we make Amish oatmeal probably every other week at least. And I just stayed at a hotel with a friend for a few days, and I just made a whole batch of Amish oatmeal, left half for my family, and brought the other half along for our breakfast, because it's just so easy. You have squares and you just eat it kind of like an oatmeal bar in the mornings.
Perfect. All right, let's go to the next question. I struggle with nighttime eating. What do I do?
Right. So there's kind of a couple different approaches we like to take with this one, right? So first of all, are you actually hungry? Because at nighttime, we can be tired, we can be stressed. It's kind of the time of the day where we can actually just stop, and our body just realizes, whoa, I have all this that I have to deal with and process right now. Like, are you just needing to process? So kind of starting with that question of like, what are you actually wanting is a great question for that.
Oh, in that moment, I love it. And even, if you think back to a time that you were eating, maybe you think like, okay, what was I wanting in that moment? You might not know. So you might need to go to the next time that you're craving something and figure out, what am I actually wanting right now? Am I stressed and I need to find a different way to manage stress? Am I eating because I'm hungry? Am I eating because I'm bored? If I not eaten all day because I was so busy, and I actually am hungry right now at night after dinner because my body's trying to catch up because I haven't had a time to eat all of the calories, macronutrients that I should be having for a day. So that could be a legitimate answer. I think a lot of times we end up being in a routine of grabbing something, and we literally just finished dinner. So our kids have, I'll give you an example. This happened a couple of days ago. Our kids have dessert sometimes, and it's usually like a fruit or something, that they have, just something, a little treat after dinner. And our son grabbed this like snack bar as his dessert. And I was like, you literally just ate an entire bowl of jambalaya. You had vegetables, you had rice, all of this stuff. You are not hungry for a 300-calorie snack bar. Like you're eating because we were in the routine. Like, let's find a snack that's going to satisfy you, or not snack, but like a sweet little dessert, or don't even get in the routine of having a dessert every single night,
right,
which is probably the better option. Right. But, I think having some options that are going to be good for you. I know Jason was in a routine for a while of making popcorn every single night, and he would do all the things with it a few years ago. And, it got to a point of like, man, we're getting into this routine. Don't need it. So then I was like, well, what if you switched your routine to having some carrots at night?
Right. Are you really hungry for those carrots at night?
And then he did it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, we're not eating at night anymore. Right.
I love it.
So sometimes it's replacing something without taking it away is a little bit easier, but just trying to figure out what's going to work best for you. But it ultimately comes down to, what are you wanting? Are you hungry? Are you satisfied? When I'm in this moment of standing in the fridge, like, can I give myself a little bit of space to figure that out of what I'm wanting, or am I just grabbing out of impulse?
Right. And I love that creating space aspect, right? So we're asking ourselves, what am I actually wanting in this moment? Giving ourselves time to think about it. I know a lot of people that we work with, they'll find like, oh, I'm going to go take some sips of water and see if I still need something, or I'm going to go do something and then come back to that thought and see if I'm really actually hungry for that. And that could be some really great ways you can just make a more informed decision.
I love it. All right. Next question. I know what to do, but I'm not doing it.
Right. So, right. And that's life, right? Like we have so many things that we want to do. And sometimes we just feel like we keep dropping the ball on it. Right. So that's where we kind of, again, got to dig deep. So that's where we want to connect with your why. What are you wanting and why are you wanting to go in that direction? Because if we're not clear on where we want to go and why we want to go there, it's going to be really hard to take effort to move ourselves into that place of doing it.
I think understanding that breaking habits sometimes can be really, really tough, right. So you have to set yourself up for success. If you're looking to not scroll on your phone in the morning and start with like a miracle morning, a morning routine where you're spending 6 minutes doing all these things, like get your phone away so you don't naturally grab it, or if you're looking to add more vegetables into your routine so that you have a more balanced lunch, are you setting yourself up with having those vegetables cut out, portioned up, and making it easy for you to do the things that you're wanting to do? If we truly thought about that, the problem doesn't come from not wanting to do it or understanding the why. It comes with us not actually taking the steps to prepare for what we actually want to do.
Right. Exactly. So if we could fall into what we're doing, it's going to make it just that much easier. And I love the approach of even for working out, right? So it can be a really big struggle to go from not exercising to a daily exercise routine. Like that is a huge, huge challenge for a lot of people. And so, bringing your work clothes to work with you, or having your workout clothes like on the floor where you step out of bed, like literally where you can trip into that positive habit is where you want to start. And of course that goes against the whole like overhaul idea, right? Like it's just that one super simple step that gets the ball rolling, and then success breeds motivation. And then you'll find that you're succeeding just by starting this ridiculously simple little thing.
I love that. And the other piece of it really comes down to having some accountability for yourself. And I think we all need accountability. We all need someone to be accountable to, no matter where you are in your business. I think that's why when you look at the most successful business people or in whatever career, they have a mentor, they have someone that they're essentially being accountable to, that they're bouncing ideas off of and getting some feedback. I met with our chief of staff before we started recording a podcast today. And she was like, hey, I love meeting with you regularly because it helps me stay accountable. Like we all need someone to be accountable to. So when we talk about exercise, you might not want to show up for yourself, but you're not going to let down your friend.
Exactly.
Like that's me and Shayla, right? Like, yep. I know that we're going to work out every morning at 7. And even those mornings that I don't want to get up and I might stroll in 2 minutes late, like I'm going to show up because I'm not going to not show up for her. And sometimes, it's easier to let ourselves down and not let other people down around us. So especially as, helpers, we want to help other people. We want to show up for them. So finding yourself an accountability partner could be super helpful to help you stay on track.
Right. So I love how we've kind of hit the intrinsic motivators, which is your why you want to be doing it, and your extrinsic motivators, which is your accountability here. So between the two, I mean, that's really hitting a lot as far as motivation goes.
I love it. All right. My spouse is not on board.
That's a tough one. And it happens, right? Like we're not always in the same place in our health journey at the same time. And so what we like to recommend too, first of all, is really being clear with each other of why you want to make these changes. Because for your spouse, the way that you want to change it might feel like an inconvenience to them because it's kind of threatening what their daily habits are, right? And if they're not in the space that they want to change it, that could be a little bit hard for them. So first of all, stating to them what your goals are and why you want to do it, because your spouse loves you. They want to support you, especially when they know why you want to make the changes. And then what we find that is the best thing to include there too is the how you can help in this journey. Because again, if your spouse loves you, they're probably going to want to support you and help you fall into success yourself. So sometimes spouses can think that they're being helpful and they're not being really helpful. So when you can say up front, like, this is how I could love your support in this journey, this is just going to make it a lot easier for them and for you along the line.
I think that is the biggest piece to clarify for yourself. How do you want someone to help you? Because for different people, it's different ways, right? Like I would never want my spouse to be like, you can't do that. You can't have that. Right. But
Right.
naturally, if I say, hey, I want to eat healthier and I don't clarify what I want them to do, that's what they might think is helping me versus like, hey, Nicole, let's get some vegetables in. Or I say, I want to work out X number of times a week. And your spouse is like, why didn't you go to the gym today? Or like, the negative side of keeping you accountable versus like, hey, I'm going to the gym. Do you want to go with me? Or, hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to do it with me? So that there's a more positive shift. And it really comes down to you as an individual clarifying how you want the people around you supporting you. And for every person, again, I think it's a little different.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Cause you even think about like, if it's taking time to exercise or prep or something like that, that might mean like, okay, can you, take the kids outside for an hour while I meal prep on a Sunday or something like that. That's really making it possible for you to do the things and prepare the ways that you want to prepare in order to succeed.
I love it. All right. Let's do the next one. I feel like a short order cook when I'm eating. So this is like a family picture here. Like everyone's having something different. I feel like a short order cook when I'm trying to eat healthy.
Right. And this is something I love to talk about with division of responsibility within a family. So basically, as far as child feeding goes, there's clear responsibilities between the parents and responsibilities of the children that are going to make eating together less stressful. So as far as the parents' responsibility, we want to decide what, when, and where our family and our children are eating. And so that kind of ties into eating family dinners at the table together. It's really hard to get buy-in with meals when you're all eating it separately. So kids just don't see you eating that, and they just kind of are making their own judgment. Like you can't talk about the meal together and have that space together. And so kids decide if they're hungry and how much they're hungry to eat. So if they're not hungry to eat their whole plate at a meal, like that's okay. Kids are not going to starve themselves. They're probably going to catch up at breakfast if they don't eat much for dinner. So really taking the stress away from that a lot of times frees up children's freedom to try new things.
I think I want to bring up something here because as we're saying, you're deciding when and where. And let's say a child decides like, I don't want that. I'm not going to eat that. You as a parent, your responsibility is not giving them another snack 15 minutes later. That's something different.
Right.
If they're not eating, save the plate, put it in the fridge. And if they're like, I want something else. Okay, great. Bring that same plate out. Yes. And, they're not going to starve. You're right. But I think it's important. And I think what happens, I've seen personally a lot is your kid's not eating whatever's, on the meal. And then you clean up and then all of a sudden they're like, all right, I'm going to the snack drawer. I'm going to get all the fun foods that I want that are loaded with sugar and processed junk that aren't helping your kid create healthy habits. And it's really, your responsibility as a parent is setting your kids up for the long term. Like, why wouldn't you want to introduce healthy foods to them so that they're not struggling with healthy eating when they're your age?
Right, exactly. Because we know nutrition impacts behavior, academics, athletic performance. And it's like a lot of kids care about those things. A lot of families care about those things. So this is kind of one of the roots that are going to help them get there.
Absolutely. All right. Last question. Every time I think I'm wanting to lose weight, I feel like I'm starving myself. How do I fix that?
Great. Well, it depends on the path that you're on for weight loss. Every time I know that there's been a lot of diets out there in American history. I mean, starting from over 50 years from now, it's been a long time that we've been a diet culture in America. And you might have been starving yourself in the past. And this is where I love just tuning into the foundations of nutrition, right? So having smaller, more frequent meals and using the plate method for meals, right? Because if we fill half of our plate with non-starchy vegetables, we're naturally going to be consuming less dense items, but we're going to be filling our belly with fiber and nutrients along with it all. And then also, we don't really want to be starving ourselves, because when we completely very much reduce our intake, that's going to slow our metabolism. So it's going to make it harder to lose weight the next time and then the next time. So really our point is not to starve anyone if they're losing weight, and really just kind of go back to tuning into listening when our body is hungry and when our body is feeling full. So it's kind of like the soft skills of intuitive eating, along with the foundations of nutrition principles of that plate method that we teach.
I love it. So we'll give some examples of the plate method in the show notes. If you found this super helpful, definitely click the link in the show notes so that you can find more episodes related to this topic. There's so much misinformation out there about nutrition. And the goal of this podcast really is to help people make health a way of life one step at a time. And hopefully you learn something in this podcast that you can make one simple change. And I think all of these questions are something that they're super common, right? And there's so much misinformation out there about health, wellness, nutrition, and you just need some sound, simple advice and really a clear plan to take action on consistently. Because at the end of the day, consistency is what is driving the results.
Right.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Amanda. If you are looking for a nutrition coach, if you are looking for someone to help you, you can go to hireanutritioncoach.com, or you can go to healthystepsnutrition.com and apply for nutrition coaching today. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review so that you can make sure and not miss another episode. By leaving us a review, it does help this podcast reach more people so that this free help can get to more people and more people can make health a way of life. We'll see you back here next week.